As the flames engulfed the house and desperation hung in the air, little did I know that my life-saving efforts would be met with accusations of harassment when Karen Kopp arrested me while I am doing CPR. Claims I am harassing the victim. Here's how it all went down. You know those towns where everyone knows everyone? That's where I live. Been a firefighter here for ages and I've loved every bit of it. Our town's the sort where you might forget to lock your front door but know it's still safe, where kids play in the streets until the streetlights come on and BBQs turn into block parties. But things took a turn recently. Our laid-back police department got a new addition, Officer Karen, and oh boy did she come in like a hurricane. She was all about the rules, always had her notebook out and was constantly on the lookout even when things seemed pretty calm. Some thought she was just trying to make a mark, others figured she'd never lived in a town as chill as ours. All I knew was, things were about to get a lot more interesting with her around. One day we got that urgent call about a house fire. My heart raced. Reaching the location, the chaotic scene was evident with a woman lying unconscious, surrounded by a thick layer of smoke. I immediately assessed her condition, hoping for signs of life, but there was none. Her skin was eerily cold and I couldn't hear or feel any breath. Without a second's hesitation, I started CPR. Every second mattered if I wanted to bring her back. The scene was intense and then, as if we needed more drama, Karen's unmistakable voice cut in, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" I glanced up, and yep, there she was, looking as if she'd caught me stealing candy from a store. "Trying to save her life, Karen," I responded, trying to keep my voice level. "She's not breathing." But Karen wasn't having it. "Looks like an assault to me," she declared. And then, in a move that left everyone baffled, she whipped out handcuffs and put them on me. "Seriously, Karen?" I exclaimed, trying to pull away. Another firefighter, probably as frustrated as I was, jumped in. "He's doing CPR, Karen. You know, the thing that saves lives?" But there was no reasoning with her. For some reason, in her world, a life-saving procedure looked like a crime in progress. It was just another day dealing with Karen's version of reality. The crowd was already on edge, and then, Karen's voice sliced through the air. "She didn't give consent!" You could almost hear the collective sigh. Here we had a crisis, and Karen was, well, being Karen. A woman from the back, who I'd never heard speak up before, said, "Karen, she's out cold. How is she supposed to give a thumbs up?" I tried to reason with her. "Karen, we're racing against time here. We need to act like yesterday." Before I could continue, there was a sudden rush of movement. Enter the paramedic, slightly out of breath and scanning the scene. "Why is everyone just standing around? What's the holdup?" The paramedic's eyes narrowed as she caught on. "Wait, let me guess. Karen issue?" Pointing at me, she added, "He's doing the right thing, Karen. It's CPR, not a wrestling match." You could hear the mix of sarcasm and genuine confusion in her voice. Everyone seemed to be thinking the same thing. Classic Karen move. As the situation continued, the crowd's buzzing grew louder, their collective voices a mix of confusion and concern. An elderly man broke through the chatter, waving his phone. "I got everything on video," he proclaimed. The video played back, showing a clear attempt to save a life and Karen's abrupt interference. As more people saw it, the mood shifted from confusion to disbelief. They were seeing a genuine effort to rescue someone, and yet Karen had dramatically misconstrued it. Several bystanders felt the need to confront Karen directly. "Look at this," one said, shoving the phone closer to her. Her confidence seemed to waver as realization dawned, but she was still adamant. "Protocols should be followed," she exclaimed, still clinging to her original stance, despite the overwhelming evidence against her. However, sensing the crowd's rising frustration and recognizing her own misjudgment, she hesitantly released the cuffs. CPR resumed, and after several tense moments, there was a collective sigh of relief when the woman began breathing again. After the incident was resolved, the department conducted a thorough review. Due to her hasty judgment and unnecessary escalation of the situation, Karen was transferred to another unit for retraining. It was hoped that, in a different environment, she would learn the importance of assessing situations accurately and acting with more discretion. The community, while relieved that actions were taken, hoped this would be a learning experience for all involved. This is why we appreciate our local heroes, firefighters and paramedics doing their best to save lives, while Karen tries to handcuff them. Thank goodness for video evidence and common sense prevailing. I was about to propose to my wonderful girlfriend when my brother borrowed my ring to propose to his girlfriend. Here's how it all went down. I'm 26 years old is proposing to my girlfriend 24 years old on our 4th anniversary. I've been planning this for about a month, and I picked the ring a couple of weeks ago. The one I got was on sale, so I managed to get it at a surprisingly low price. Last weekend I told my brother, 33 years old, about my plans and showed him the ring. He informed me that he was proposing to his girlfriend 29 years old as well. "Hey, remember the ring I showed you?" I said, eager to share my excitement. He smirked. "Oh, I'm thinking of popping the question too." I blinked in surprise. "Seriously, that's crazy timing." He laughed. "I know, right? Feels like something out of a movie." The next day, there was a knock at my apartment door. There he stood, looking slightly awkward. Hey, so, weird request, he began, scratching the back of his neck. I raised an eyebrow. What's up? He hesitated. Can I borrow your ring? Just for the proposal, it'll be like a placeholder? I blinked, taken aback. Wait, what? A placeholder ring? Is that even a thing? He nodded vigorously. Yeah, I don't want to splurge if she might say no. Once she says yes, we'll pick out something she really wants. I frowned, thinking it over. Dude, it's a big step, you know? Maybe wait and get a ring you think she'd like? He shrugged, looking slightly defeated. I thought it was a decent plan. We chatted a bit more and eventually he left, but not without dropping a few more hints about how convenient it would be to borrow my ring. On Tuesday, he proposed to his girlfriend, with my ring. He'd taken it before leaving my apartment. I got distracted at work and didn't notice it was gone until his fiancée sent a picture of herself wearing the ring to our family group chat. I called him to ask about the ring, and he immediately apologized and said he'd keep his promise and give it back to me. But at this point, my girlfriend had seen it, and his fiancé had posted about it on social media, so it was pointless for me to propose using the same ring. We fought about it, and he confessed that while he'd told his fiancée the ring was a placeholder, he didn't tell her where he'd gotten it from. I felt more angry and betrayed about him going behind my back and taking the ring after I said no than the fact that he stole it. I also know his fiancée enough to know she wouldn't like to learn her engagement ring had been taken from me, so I told my brother I'd tell her the truth if he didn't buy me a new engagement ring. He fought against it for a few hours, but finally gave up and agreed. We went to a different jewelry store yesterday, and I picked a new ring. I managed to stay in the price range, but the new one was still $100 more expensive. My brother bought the ring, but is still accusing me of being inconsiderate and childish. He is insistent he would have given me the ring back, had I given him the opportunity, and I didn't need to threaten him to spend so much money on me. He's now refusing to talk to me. I don't know how to feel about this anymore. I'd usually talk to my brother about these things, and it's surreal that he's the one I'm fighting. I can't tell my girlfriend, and many of our friends overlap. The only other person who knows about this is our mom, who's divided. She thinks what my brother did was wrong, and I'm right to be upset at him. But I didn't have to stoop as low as I did by threatening his relationship. Am I the jerk? A few days later, my girlfriend and I are finally engaged. I proposed to her on our anniversary, just as I'd planned. She said yes, and we both cried. I love this woman, and I can't wait to marry her. My mom called me and apologized. After thinking it through, she realized that while I did threaten his relationship, my brother had brought it upon himself. She confronted him the next day, and he ended up confessing that he wasn't going to propose until I said I was. My brother is older, but I've hit many milestones earlier than him. He never seemed bitter about it. We've always been close and supported each other, which is why I was completely blindsided by what he did. Finding out I was proposing made him panic. He spontaneously said he was doing so too, but freaked out about picking an engagement ring and devised a plan that, according to him, made sense at the time. Use mine and take his girlfriend to buy a new one later. That plan was ruined when I said no, so he stole my ring. The new plan was to propose with it, take her to buy a new one, find an excuse to visit me the next day, and discreetly return the ring to my apartment. I wasn't even supposed to know it was gone. That plan was also ruined due to his girlfriend's immediate announcement. He knew she was doing it, but not that she'd show the ring. Then he got mad. I made him get me a new ring because he'd told his girlfriend he'd get her one too. So his plan to spare himself the effort of choosing an engagement ring would end up making him buy two. Basically, my mom got him to admit his whole engagement was a panic move. She said he already seemed embarrassed when they started talking, but was a wreck by the time they were done. She told him to apologize to me, and he called me an hour later to do so. He seemed sincere. I definitely agree that his girlfriend deserved to know the truth. The only reason I hadn't done so was because I thought that should come from my brother. So I took the opportunity to tell him that if he truly loved her, he'd tell her the truth. He did. I don't know much of what was said, but she dumped him. He gave me back the first ring and refused my offer to pay him back what he'd spent on the new one. As some of you recommended, I waited 2 days after proposing to tell my fiancée what happened. She was furious, but reassured me that she loved her ring more than any other. Since the first one was on sale, I can't return it to the store, so we're thinking of selling it. I haven't forgiven my brother, but because he's never done anything like this before, I'm willing to give him another chance. I'm going low contact for now. He'll have to earn my trust back. I really hope he does. I love him, and I don't want our relationship to end over what he did. Both my fiancé and my mom agree with me on this. I can't believe the lengths some people will go to avoid picking out an engagement ring. But seriously, stealing your own brother's ring? That's a whole new level of betrayal. Glad to hear that everything worked out for the OP and their fiancé in the end, though. Wishing them a lifetime of happiness together. As I stood in the midst of the tense family gathering, little did I know that a simple conversation behind closed doors would ignite a firestorm of emotions. My mother and brother approached me, their grave expressions hinting at the impending turmoil. Little did I know, this discussion about my girlfriend's style would unravel our relationships and force me to question my own reactions. Here's how it all went down. I am a 29-year-old male who has been with my girlfriend, 27 female, for 5 years. I honestly think she's the one and have recently been thinking about popping the question. However, a recent family gathering has caused tensions to rise between our families. The festive atmosphere of my brother's girlfriend's birthday party contrasted sharply with the tension that arose when my mother and brother suddenly ushered me into the kitchen, away from the gathering. Closing the door behind us, my mother hesitated for a moment, her face a mask of concern. "We wanted to talk to you about something," she began, her voice cautious. I looked from her to my brother, his expression equally grave. "All right, what's going on?" I asked, a hint of impatience in my voice. My brother, usually the more direct one, took the lead. "It's about how your girlfriend dresses, especially the bra thing." I frowned, caught off guard. "What bra thing? You must have noticed she often doesn't wear one," my mother interjected, her tone gentle, as though she was treading on fragile ground. "It's rather evident." I paused, trying to process their words. Honestly, I hadn't really paid attention. "Why is it an issue now?" my mother sighed, glancing at my brother before continuing. "It's not just us. Her appearance has been noticed. Her boyfriend even made a comment." Raising my eyebrows, I probed. "What did he say?" She hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. "He mentioned that when she's around, because she's not wearing a bra, it's hard to focus on anything else." I leaned against the kitchen counter, feeling a mix of annoyance and disbelief. "Look, she's her own person. She has her style, and she has the right to wear whatever she's comfortable in." My brother sighed. "We're just giving you a heads up. It's just people talk." Running a hand through my hair, I responded, "I'll talk to her, but ultimately, it's her decision." My brother then confessed to me that his girlfriend also has had a problem with my girlfriend not wearing a bra, and that it has caused multiple fights between the two of them because she's afraid my brother's eyes will wander, and she secretly is afraid he likes overweight girls. I never thought of my girlfriend as overweight and thought for her height, she looked about average build for her weight. After hearing them say this, I couldn't help but feel angry on her behalf. My girlfriend has mentioned to me offhandedly before that she doesn't like wearing bras because they make her chest feel very tight and uncomfortable. I simply told my mom and brother, "Okay." Stepping out from the kitchen into the party, I was fuming. Without missing a beat, I went straight to my girlfriend, whispered in her ear that we should go, and we left. As the door shut behind us, I could feel the weight of what just transpired, and the tension was palpable. It wasn't long after we arrived home that my phone buzzed. It was my brother. "Why'd you storm out like that?" he asked, sounding both concerned and annoyed. Taking a deep breath, I responded, "I can't believe you guys confronted me about how she dresses. Her body and her clothes aren't anyone's business." Before I could say more, my mom's voice chimed in from the background, and then she was on the phone. "She needs to respect others and herself when dressing," she said. I retorted, "She was wearing a t-shirt and jeans, for crying out loud. Just because she's a bit curvier doesn't mean she has to cover up to accommodate anyone's discomfort." Emotions were clearly high as I added, "If she can't be comfortable being herself around our family, maybe we don't need to be around." This was met with shouts from both my brother and my mom, and before I knew it, we were locked in a heated three-way argument. Sitting here now, replaying the conversation in my mind, I'm not sure if I reacted too harshly. Did I overreact? Or was I right to defend my girlfriend's right to dress as she pleases? It's important to approach conversations like these with empathy and understanding. However, it's also crucial to maintain open communication and address concerns in a respectful manner. Remember, everyone's perspective and experiences may vary, and it's essential to find a balance that respects your girlfriend's autonomy while also considering the feelings of your family members. Open dialogue can help bridge the gap and find a resolution that works for everyone involved. I never imagined that a simple agreement over rent could escalate into a bitter feud with my own sister. We had agreed on a fair split, but when she suddenly demanded I pay more, lines were drawn and tensions soared. Little did I know this was just the beginning of a twisted tale of betrayal and broken bonds. Here's how it all went down. My husband and I recently moved back to the state I'm from. My twin sister suggested that we all live together so that she can move out of our parents' house. At first, we were hesitant. However, we eventually agreed because it would be mutually beneficial. She found the place, a 3-bedroom at $1,295 per month, plus utilities. When asking about how we would split up the rent and utilities, she said that she would split everything 50-50ths with us. This is an agreement we came to a few months ago. 2 weeks after signing the lease, we were settling into our new home. Things had been going smoothly until one evening. My sister asked if we could chat. We sat down on the living room couch, the muted glow from the lamp casting a soft light around. With a deep sigh, she started. Look, I've been thinking about our initial agreement. She paused, searching for the right words. Given the disparity in our incomes, I don't think it's fair that we split the bills equally. Confused, I replied, but we had this settled, and we all agreed on the rooms and the costs. She ran a hand through her hair, visibly nervous. I get that, but combined, you and your husband earn a lot more than I do. I make $45K a year, and you guys together make $84K. I blinked, doing the math quickly in my head. Okay, but it's not like there's a vast gap between our salaries, and we're sharing spaces and utilities, she continued. I just think you should cover more of the rent and utilities, maybe 2/3 of it. It'll still be within your budget and it'll relieve some pressure off me. I felt cornered and unsure of how to react. I need to discuss this with my husband, I said, trying to buy some time. The next day, after talking it over with my husband, we sat down with my sister. Okay, I began cautiously. Here's what we're thinking. We can cover $800 of the rent and you pay $495. As for utilities, we'll pay 65% of it. My sister nodded, looking relieved. Thank you for understanding. I wasn't entirely convinced, but seeing her relief made me think that maybe we were doing the right thing. Still, I couldn't shake off the feeling that our original agreement should have stood. The next day, I spoke to my parents and my aunt about it. My parents and aunt both agreed that it was unfair for her to renegotiate now. After speaking with them, I realized that I needed to speak with her again and insist that we go back to our original agreement. I approached her that night saying that I knew we had discussed this, but the more I thought and talked with my husband, who also felt it was unfair, the more I felt it was unfair for her to go back on our original agreement. Before I could finish explaining my first thought, she began to interrupt and argue with me. She got upset and walked away from the conversation, saying that as soon as our lease was up, in 1 year, she would find somewhere else to live. At this point, I was shocked at how upset and angry she became. I ended up leaving the house for a bit with my husband to chat when I received a call from my parents. They explained that my sister had called them crying and yelling, saying that they needed to stay out of our business. She had the sentiment that she had been treated unfairly and that everyone was against her and taking my side. For context, she just bought a new car. Not out of necessity, she just wanted a newer one. My dad said that he tried discussing bills with her, but she insisted she could afford it easily. I feel guilty, but my family is telling me that I did the right thing by sticking up for myself. Am I the jerk? Just to clarify, this arrangement was my sister's idea from the beginning. She offered a 50-50 split. If she told me she wanted me to pay more before, I would probably have chosen for my husband and I to live alone. When I say the bigger room, our room is 15 by 12 feet. Hers is 12 by 12 feet. Also, I am very willing for us to pay 2/3 for utilities, and she pays 1/3. So I will speak to her again once she's willing. This whole thing has been a whirlwind of big feelings and certainly not reflective of our lifelong relationship. We love each other very much and neither of us would ever purposefully screw each other over. After our conversation about the rent and utilities, my sister unexpectedly packed a few things and left to stay with a friend for a few days. The atmosphere in the house felt heavy. A few days later, I took a deep breath and sent her a text. Hey, I'm really sorry about everything that's been going on. Let's talk about this. I love you, and I hate that we're fighting over something like this. I waited, anxiously watching for the familiar typing indicator. It popped up and then disappeared, repeating a few times before she finally replied, I don't want to talk right now. Though that hurt, I understood. She needed space. But then another text came through that caught me off guard. What she said pierced through me, echoing the depth of her anger and hurt. The sentiment was unlike her. We've had our disagreements over the years, but nothing had ever escalated to this level. Over the next few days, I heard from mutual friends that she was speaking ill of me, recounting our argument with added twists and tales. The hurt intensified. Why was she doing this? Was the resentment about the rent agreement, or had deeper issues been festering for a while? The weight of the situation bore down on me. I wanted to find middle ground, to mend things, but her recent actions and words made it challenging to see a clear path to reconciliation. This was more than a disagreement over rent. It was about our relationship's very foundation. It felt like walking on a tightrope. On one hand, I didn't want to compromise my stance just to appease her, but on the other, I couldn't imagine our bond shattering over this. The thought of sitting across from each other at family gatherings, birthdays, or holidays with an unspoken animosity between us was heart-wrenching. I missed my sister, but how could we navigate this minefield and find our way back to each other? In this situation, it is important to consider the value you place on your relationship with your sister versus the concept of fairness in holding her to the original agreement. Additionally, it is worth noting that some may interpret your lack of recognition of the benefits you are receiving as leaning towards being in the wrong. Ultimately, the decision is yours to make based on your priorities and the dynamics of your relationship. If you enjoyed today's stories, check out the other videos on your screen now. Submit your own stories at you'rethejerk.com. Subscribe now, or you're definitely the jerk.